provider or you need to have a license to run the services. Right? So therefore you already have a sustainable competitive advantage. That means no Tom, Dick and Harry can start the service immediately. Are you with me or are you getting bored? No. Sure? Because I don't see any reaction, so I don't really know. Anyway, are you with me? So whether you have got different companies, they have to be either licensed or they need to be regulated in terms of registration. Other people cannot just come in and walk in and take away your business. Unlike, say, for example, if I'm trying to manufacture clothes, anybody can come in. So you know very, very clearly what this particular thing is. Other sustained competitive advantage is the amount of money you need to put in. So on one hand, it's a negative because I need to have a lot of capex, capital expenditure which I need to put in. On the other hand, increased capex ensures that other people cannot just walk into the business. Right? So those are the advantages which you need to keep in mind. That this is something very special that I have. Then you have to look at the technology. Don't look at the technology all over the world. Look at the technology that you have. What is the technology that I have? Can I make use of the technology to create a new product? Create a product that has got value to the customer. Because there will be technologies all over the place. But you need to take a call whether you have some certain value which you can create out of that technology. Technology is available. Remember one thing, technology can be replicated. Anybody can buy the technology. But what different value can you create out of that depends upon two other items. What are the market conditions? Yeah. What are the competitive products which are there in the market? What are the market conditions? Does the market really require it? Which is the market segment, where you expect the money from the person's wallet, share of wallet to go from where into your business? I'll speak about the share of wallet because it's very, very interesting. What happens is a person has got a certain amount to spend. First of all, you need to realize whether your target customer is going to be an enterprise or it is going to be an individual. Both of them have got a budget. An individual also has got a budget and enterprise has got a budget. But the way of approaching both these people are a little different. Enterprise do not go in for a purchase which is, you suddenly just talk about something and say, oh, that's something I need to buy. So there's no impulse buying in an enterprise. Enterprise cannot go in for an impulse buying. It has to be steady, it should be in their budget and things like that because it's more structured. But an individual can go for impulse buying. And therefore the marketing strategy could be different for that. And depending upon the product you have, you could really have, you need to target whether it's going to be for an enterprise or for an individual because the way of approaching the market is different. So you really need to look at the market conditions and you need to look at the customer requirements. Now, interesting things. A lot of telecom services, especially those mobile services like SMS, or MMSs, were very, very popular in certain sections of the globe and not so popular in other sections of the globe. SMS texting has never been, or until very recently was never really very popular in US. They didn't really have the system of SMS texting, right? But in certain parts of the world it was extremely important. Why did that happen? Because the markets are different. Say for example, in US, normally let's try to understand there is two things that we need to understand as far as an individual is concerned. There's an individual share of the wallet and there's an individual share of the free time. Okay? What is this individual going to do in his spare time? Now, let me say that I want to sell MMS clips. That somebody, Sachin Tendulkar has hit a 6, so I'm going to sell this clip. So anybody can download that clip and have a view of that. Okay? First of all, if that is my value, then I need to understand who are the people who are going to see it and whether they have the time to see it. This kind of services were extremely popular in Japan. Now try to understand the manner in which a Japanese would be working, right? And try to understand why these similar services were not so useful in America, in US. Okay. Typically, most of the people would have an 8-hour working day, more or less. Yeah. Then they have got another 8 hours where they will be sleeping. And then there is always a travel time. Get me? Now, It is in this travel time that somebody would actually be watching MMS clips, right? Now see the difference in travel between an average Japanese customer and an American customer. How does the American customer travel? Usually by car. Most of the time he is traveling himself. Now can you see MMS having a value to somebody who is having a free time in that sense while he is driving? He's not going to see the MMS, right? On the other hand, look at the Japanese customer. Okay? It's not very polite in the Japanese culture to be talking on telephone while you are in a public space. Most of the Japanese customers were traveling in trains or public transport. Now when they're traveling in public transport, in India it is fine, you can say, hello, how are you, this, that and other, you could talk on the trains. But in Japan, it is not really considered polite to be talking in public places at all. So they cannot talk. Okay? So typically what will they do? They'll be reading newspapers, seeing MMS clips, texting. So there was a value there. But in US, it's not a value. Now, look at US. There is a lot of technology which says, I want to make phone calls. Correct? So voice activated dialing. In US, it was a big thing, a big product, voice activated dialing. So you say, Bhupesh, and automatically Bhupesh's number is dialed. Correct? Voice activated dialing is big. Is it big in India? Why? Because the ambient noise is so high that you are not really going to be, so if you want to really do a voice activated dialing, you need to be in a very quiet environment. Bhupesh. So it tells you very, very clearly that the product which runs in US need not run in India. It need not run in Nigeria. It need not run in South Africa. It all depends on the environment in which. So you need to understand very, very clearly that if you are aiming a product at an individual, what is the time the individual is going to have when he's going to use your product, and when you could actually take a share of his time for your product, share of his wallet for your product. So don't think that whatever happens in South Korea is necessarily what is going to happen in India. Okay? South Korea incidentally has got one of the highest internet penetration in the world today in terms of broadband. Correct? Broadband internet is highest in South Korea, much higher than US and other places. Have you ever wondered why? Simply. Do you know the demography of South Korea? Most of the South Koreans are significantly, it's a highly urbanized country. More than 60% of the population lives in cities. Okay? Seoul is an extremely large city. So when it was such a large city, what happened? Each and every house was wired. Each and every house was wired for telephony. Okay? Now, internet has got, when you want to provide voice telephony, it does not matter how long your wire is. You could have a 4 kilometers wire and you can still talk. But when you have got 4 kilometers of wiring, you cannot really have good internet speed. Right? So what typically happened was that in a urban environment of South Korea, that people were living in apartment houses, the number of people serviced by a telephone exchange. Earlier the telephone exchange, you have got to see historical background also.